Hi everyone, I'm astrologer Anu, and today I'm going to talk about sports astrology in this video. I'm going to my gym. I'm really regular in that because I love sports. I'm a very sporty person, and I thought, why not make a video on sports astrology? Is it possible to look at the horoscope of a person and judge whether he or she can be a good sports person or he can excel in sports? Yes, you can. What I feel is more than the planets, you need to have a passion for sports. And if your planets support you, then you should definitely go for it. So I'm going to discuss in this video. Stay tuned with me. Bye bye. So let's talk about sports. So there are so many people who are interested in sports and they want to see whether they can excel in sports. So what do you have to see? You've got to see three houses. You've got to see the first house, third house, 10th house, and yes, you can also see the sixth house because sixth house is for enemies, and you got to have a weak sixth house just because if your enemy is weak, then you have a chance to excel. So the first house, because first house is for yourself. It's about how many reps you can do in a single go. That's your first house. Now third house is for effort, for your valor, for courage, and you have to be courageous if you want to go in sports because there's so much competition. Then the 10th house is for career, and you got to have that strong if you want to make a career in sports. And not to ignore the importance of the sixth house, because sixth house is for competition, it's for your enemies, and your enemy house should be weak if you want to excel in sports. So these are the houses, and what are the planets you got to see are Saturn and Mars at a general level, because you've got to see the role of other houses and the influence of planets like Mercury and Jupiter. But to an extent, I feel that Saturn and Mars, they have major role to play. Saturn, because Saturn is the planet of hard work, of discipline, and until and unless you're disciplined, you cannot excel in sports. And Mars, because Mars is the energy of the body. You've got to have an energetic body. You've got to have a spirit who always wants to work out, who always wants to play. And it's not a matter of a day or a month. You've got to be have that spirit in you all through your life. So these two planets, they play a very important role, and in this video I'm going to discuss the horoscope of Steffi Graf, my favorite tennis star, and I will discuss her horoscope, what made her the #1 player in the world. Steffi Graf, the German tennis player, was ranked #1 all through her career, having won 22 Grand Slams and Olympic gold. Let's see what makes her a champion. So this is the horoscope of Steffi Graf, born on June 14, 1969. As we can see that she is Aquarius ascendant, and her ascendant lord is in the third house with Venus, Rahu in the second house, Mercury in the fourth house, Sun Moon conjunct in the fifth house, and yes, her moon sign is Gemini, and Jupiter and Ketu in the eighth house, and an extremely powerful Mars in Scorpio in the 10th house. So let us see what are the houses we need to see if a person can be a good sports star. We can see that Steffi is a legend, and we can see in her horoscope that she has a very strong first house, third house, and the 10th house, which are required for a good sports person. Let's see why. First house is the house of Saturn, and Saturn is the main planet to be seen if we want to see the success in sports, because Saturn is a planet of discipline, of hard work, and Saturn, the first house lord, goes in the third house. No doubt it is debilitated but it's forming a Neech Bhang Rajyog. That's making it even more powerful. Now here a Neech Bhang Rajyog is being formed by Saturn. We can see that the first house lord goes in the third house. Third house is for effort, is for courage, and you need to have a lot of courage. You need to put in a lot of effort if you want to go in sports, because sports needs regular training, and we can see that the Saturn is debilitated. You might be thinking that it might not give Steffi, or it might not have given her the courage to go for and to fight for her games, but it was not the case. It was just the opposite. Why? Just because there was a Neech Bhang Rajyog and it was giving her the exalted effects. Now we can see that Saturn is debilitated, but at the same time the depositor of that house is Aries, and we can see that in the 10th house Mars is exalted in Scorpio and in its own house. So even in its own house Mars is giving its exalted effects, because Mars becomes extremely powerful in Scorpio. So the second sign that is ruled by Mars is Aries. So that means the depositor became powerful and debilation got cancelled. Second thing, we can see that Mars is in Kendra from the ascendant. What is Kendra? That is first house, 4th, 7th and 10th. And it is 10th house from the ascendant. So that also nullifies the Neech aspect of Saturn. That means when a planet in debilation, it gets cancelled, a Neech Bhang Rajyog is formed. And we can see in this case that Steffi's third house becomes extremely exalted just because of this yoga. Then we can see that the 10th house is super powerful because of the placement of Mars in Scorpio, and we can see the 4th aspect of Mars on the ascendant. That means Steffi was extremely agile, active, always on the go. And we can see the 8th aspect of Mars on Moon. That means she was extremely quick in making decisions, which is the basic requirement of a tennis player. We can see the aspect of Rahu on the 6th house, and 6th house is for enemies. And when the enemies of a person are weak, then definitely a person is bound to succeed. And not to forget the stabbing of Monica Seles, and in her absence, yes, she won many Grand Slams, and she has won a total of 22 Grand Slams. But yeah, we cannot ignore the greatness of Steffi Graf, and she was and will always remain the number one player in tennis history. I hope you like my video. Thank you guys. See you next week.